Hello, James speaking. You want a summer chilled vibes version of In My Face? 50 grand. Okay, we'll get straight on it.
Oh yeah! Recording acoustic guitar. What do you need and how do you do it? Well, your approach will really depend on the context. Is the guitar going to be super exposed in the track? Or is it going to be buried in a mix with a heap of other instrumentation? If it's the former, then you might want to use a couple of different microphones so as you can pan them in the mix, and if it's the latter, then you might want to use one or even a pickup. No, you probably never want to use a pickup. In this case, we're going to be recording our chilled summer vibes version of my epic hit, In Your Face. Here's a quick reminder.
In my face, pitching is in my face.
That's enough of that. So our guitar will be fairly exposed, so we want to use a couple of microphones on it so as we can get a nice stereo spread. There's probably going to be a marimba in it, so I want the body of the guitar in the centre, some sparkly guitar panned off to one side, and the marimba on the opposing side. So let's start with the body of the sound. For this, we're going to be using the LCT 640 TS that the lovely folks at LEWITT sent us a few weeks ago, and this also gives us an opportunity to show you something. The LCT 640 has a very unique feature. You can change the polar pattern of the microphone after you've recorded. Now, this isn't some software modelling plug-in bollocks like we see in Universal Audio's interfaces where you can change what virtual preamp you're using after the fact, but rather a plug-in that operates in exactly the same way as the switches on the front of the microphone. If you set the LCT 640 into switchable in post mode by holding down the centre button until the polar patterns on the front go away and record a second signal from the microphone using the secondary output on its side, then your DAW will capture 2 channels of audio, and you can then use their free plugin to switch polar patterns after the fact. And this means that we can show you the real difference between the sound character of differing polar patterns on exactly the same piece of audio. For the secondary microphone, we're going to use a small diaphragm condenser in the form of the LEWITT LCT 140. So all we need now is a guitar and a good guitarist. Okay, so no good guitarists were available, so we'll just have to use Sam.
What do you mean by South America? Oh God, my bum.
Now, there are lots of YouTube videos out there that tell you to aim a large diaphragm condenser at the body of the guitar, but avoid the sound hole because you'll get a lot of boom. Now, this can be true if using a cardioid pickup pattern, as the proximity effect comes into play somewhat, which can give you an artificial boost in the low end. But in omnidirectional mode, that won't be such an issue. So the trick is to ignore what everyone else says on YouTube and find the best position for you and your guitar. And if it's pointing directly at the sound hole, then so be it. That's where it needs to point. Don't think, oh, I shouldn't put it there because someone said so. So let's start with our LCT 640 and move it around in front of the guitar whilst listening on headphones to determine the best position. If you're working alone, then just simply leave the mic on the stand and move yourself with the guitar. Left a bit, right a bit, up a bit more, up a bit more, up a bit more, down a bit, back it off a bit, back it off a bit more, a bit more, a bit more, a bit more, back it off a bit more, 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 more. Perfect. Okay, so joking aside, let's move the microphone roughly along the centre of the guitar so as you can hear the difference positioning makes. We think it sounds best around here. So now we can add in the pencil mic on the neck of the guitar. Once again, ignore anyone that tells you to point the pencil mic at the umpteenth fret and move it around until it sounds good, and then that's where you want it. I thought I'd do this bit of voiceover on the LCT 640 to see how it sounds before we move into the epic, in-my-face, Summer Chill Vibes remix. As I said earlier in the video, you can switch polar patterns after you've recorded on the 640, and this basically works by capturing the output of each capsule independently. This means the microphone can also act as a perfectly in-phase stereo recording solution, and because you can also balance the output of each capsule in your DAW, you could use a pair as drum overheads, for example, and vary the balance between the front and back of the microphone to introduce more or less room sound. All very handy indeed. So let's listen to the same loop of guitar and move between the polar patterns and hear how different they sound.
In my face, crunchy things in my face, greengrocers in my face, gummy bears in my face, iPhone 12 in my face, cat basket in my face, mixing desk in my face, everything in my face.